Dr. Jones here. Wanted to respond to a comment that I had about, how parents, I don't believe that parents should be charging their children rent. This commenter, and I won't read all of it, just some of it. She says, attorney mom of adult client here. Her son is a Dusty who transferred his irresponsibility from his parents onto an innocent black hardworking woman. Your advice is totally wrong. It's part of the reason our black children have less financial gains than we do in our homes and other things that we work so hard to get them. It is foolish and economically and legally dangerous to allow Black young children to live at home without any financial responsibility. If they are not working full time in an office job or attending university, not a community college, full time and earning a minimum B plus average, economic studies economic studies repeatedly show that the children and Black upper and middle class families have far less economic power and mobility than their parents. And this is because we let our children live in a delusion that they are like their little white friends. Our children see the comforts that we have given them, and they imagine that they have the long-standing generational wealth like their white friends. They aren't working hard when in fact they are they are behind the scenes, and our kids aspire to be similarly trifling. They don't understand that we are often the first generation to have financial success and had to get it by grit. And then she goes on to talk about someone else's son. So, number one, you guys, you don't have to listen to what I say. You can do whatever you want to do for your home. That's number one. So I'm not telling anybody what they need to do, but people ask me for advice. I give it. They could take it or leave it. It's not arbitrary. I'm not going to force you to take it. Number and I don't know anybody's situation who comes on here and writes questions, and I've always said that. So that's the other number one. But number two, I don't feel comfortable with calling someone's child a Dusty. So that's number two. I'm not going to do that. And I don't necessarily agree with that. That concept of a underage person, a person that's 18, that's in that age bracket of 18 and under. I feel like young people are just they're learning their way just like everybody else. You've made mistakes. I've made mistakes. Everybody's made mistakes. So they have to learn and be taught about financial responsibility. And I have said that from day one when I've talked about finances, that it is a parent's job to talk to their children about finances. Talk and teach are things that are done. Sorry, I want to give the birds a chance to quiet down. Talk is something that is like open and honest, and I'm trying to teach you, but I'm not trying to force your hand, and I'm not trying to oppress you. When I talk about parents that are forcing their children to pay rent, you're 18 now, you're 17, you graduate high school, pay rent. That is very arbitrary. So I disagree with what you're saying, which leads me to the third point. You talked about how, I'm the reason that we don't have generational wealth. First of all, I don't have that much power or authority. But number two, I actually want people to have that, which is why I'm saying that like forcing your children to do something is never, ever going to work. I mean, they'll do it, if they have to do it, but they're going to be oppressed. They're going to have some feelings about it. And it's better to talk to your children and teach them about finances. So that's where it's important to have buy-in and conversation with your children and teach them about finances. And that really needs to be starting way before they hit a certain age, the age of 18, right? Which is when high school is done. So they either need to pay or get out. And the way that it's being talked about isn't being talked about in terms of generational wealth. It's like, you need to give me money. So that's number one, to counter what you're saying. What I'm getting in these posts, and again, I don't know what's going on in anybody's home, but the way that's being brought to me is like, you need to pay me money now that you've hit a certain age. And this is not the first, second, or third posts I've done on that. I've done a bajillion more way back, and they've all gotten a ton of comments saying that their parents want money from them. Wanting money and expecting you to pay bills because you've turned a certain age is a totally different conversation than saying, hey, I want us to build and have generational wealth. And that is a different conversation. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that we can add on to the house. I'm thinking that we can do all of these things. We can put our money into a pot, and but you still have income to live and eat and do things, not turning over your entire paycheck. But I want us to put all of our money together and build. And this is teaching them why it's important to build. I want us to own this home. I want us to build more home. Whatever it is, whatever your ideas are about the generational wealth, you still need to have that conversation. It's not arbitrarily turn over your check. You need to go to work, go to school, and do this thing. It's not, no, it's like, I want you to do these things so that you can be successful. And here are my thoughts on how you can be successful in doing that. And so here's the plan that we're going to have together. And it's having that conversation and knowing that your child can come to you, problem solve, and talk to you and suggest alternative things. Not, you do it my way or you hit the highway, or you do it my way or you're a loser forevermore if you don't maintain these standards that I have in my mind. And so that's what I'm saying. The other thing to counter what you're saying is like, some, not necessarily you, but, some of the other women, and I'm responding to you, but I'm responding to you respectfully. So please don't take my post as like being argumentative or, saying anything negative about you, because it's not. It's just, I'm having a conversation, and I don't know you and you don't know me, as far as I know. But anyhow, getting back to it, there's been people talking about, well, I'm a single mom, you deserve to pay me back and this and that and the other. Actually, no, that's not how that works. You have chosen to be a parent. Children don't owe you retribution for being a parent. That is a different conversation, though, than you say, I'm a single parent. I'm actually struggling. I kind of need some help here. That is a different conversation. And when you say it that way, that is a different feel than I'm your mama or I'm your daddy and I raised you, and so now you owe me, versus like, you know what, I'm struggling right now. I got laid off, or the money's just not hitting. Could you help me out? You're talking to your child. You're respecting them. You're respecting their finances. And even then, you still need to come to them and have a conversation that's rooted in respect. And what I'm hearing in some of these comments is that children aren't being treated with respect. Children aren't being talked to and taught. They're sort of like this arbitrary, like, you need to do this, you need to do that, as opposed to like, no, let's have a conversation. You're 16 and you're making money now, and I know you want to spend money with your friends and you may want to do things, but we have some needs in the family. Here's what's happening. Would you mind? Are you okay with? And, since, then we can pool our money together and come up with a plan, not just arbitrary, but that's my thoughts on it. You don't have to take it. You can leave it. If it doesn't work for you, you have these visions, that's fine. But I don't believe in like pigeonholing children and saying they're this, or if they don't do things this way, then they're bad people. I don't believe in doing that necessarily. So I hope that helps. Thanks so much.